Hey, what's up everyone? Jordan here with another video. Today I'm going to talk about my minimal iPhone setup for 2021. So I, like most people in the world, use my iPhone for basically everything, and I tend to find myself on it whenever I don't really need to be. So this year, I'm trying to be a little more intentional about my phone usage, and I've been seeing a lot of videos of minimal iPhone setups, and I thought I would make a video about my setup because after seeing these different videos, I decided to take that route of simplifying my homepage and kind of doing a bit of, I guess, spring cleaning on my iPhone. So I'm going to walk you through my iPhone setup and kind of the main apps that I use on a day-to-day basis. So the main part of my phone that I'm going to be showcasing is my homepage because that is now basically the only page that I see on my phone. In the past, I've just had pages and pages of apps, some organized, some not, as I would download them and then not really use them. And it just gets cluttered. Everything is super messy. You've got push notifications and the little red bubbles everywhere. So I wanted to simplify the homepage of my phone so that it was just less distracting overall. So I went through and deleted all of the apps that I didn't really need to have on my phone. Now, of course, there are a lot of apps that you don't really think that you have to have downloaded, but you do, so you can't delete everything. And that's where the apps library comes in handy. I basically deleted everything from my home page and just pushed it to the apps library. So now, of course, you'll see that right now I have that little middle page, and that's just because I got an Apple Watch yesterday and I've been setting it up. But I will soon remove those from the home page and put them in the apps library. The apps library is great because you can have all of the apps that you need but don't use that often hidden away on here so that they're not cluttering on your home page. And if I need to access them, I can just search for whatever I need and find them quickly. For the homepage, I decided to finally mess with custom icons. I had been seeing these all over Instagram and YouTube, and I wanted to give it a shot. I downloaded a minimal icon pack from a creator named Ollier. I'm sure you're all familiar with his work, and it was like $19. I'll be sure to leave a link in the description below. Now, I am pretty proficient in Photoshop, and I could have made these myself, but I wanted to purchase something from another creator to help support his channel because I do watch a lot of his content. I'm a big fan of his work. So I started by purchasing that pack, and then I did have to create a couple of my own that he didn't have, and I wanted to make sure everything was cohesive, so I just made a couple extras and threw them in there. So once I downloaded that pack, I went through and figured out all of the apps that I thought were necessary to keep on my homepage. These are all the apps that I use multiple times a day that I just can't live without having on my main screen. So let's go through each app that I have on my homepage. Starting with the top, I have a calendar widget from an app called Widgetsmith. This is just a cool app where you can download different widgets for your homepage. They come in all different sizes, and I just like the look of this because I have a full calendar view where I can, at a quick glance, look up, see what day it is. But it's just a super simple app to use, and I'm really happy with how it looks and how it lines up with the rest of the icons on the homepage. Moving down, we have my messaging app, starting with iMessage. Of course, you know iMessage, but I also use Telegram. Telegram is basically just another version of WhatsApp. I started using this back in 2014, I think, when it came out. And I started using it because back in 2014, group messaging on iMessage wasn't that interactive or great, and this app had kind of covered all of the things that iMessage wasn't using, or that iMessage didn't have. Next to iMessage, we have Gmail. I like the Gmail app. I don't really like to use the Mail app with Apple. I just think that this is a lot more cohesive if you use Google Mail, Docs, and Sheets and all of that. So I just like using Gmail in general. So that's right next to my iMessages because I'm checking my emails and replying to emails just as often as I'm replying to texts. Next up, we have Apple Maps. I prefer Apple Maps versus Google Maps or Waze even. And I drive a lot, I travel a lot, so I always need maps, of course. Next up, we have the clock, which is where I keep all of my alarms. And I just got an Apple Watch like 2 days ago, so I've been using the alarm on here where it kind of vibrates and wakes you up, which is really nice when you're waking up super early and you don't want to wake up everyone around you by having your phone blaring. So we have the clock there. Then my notes, I use Apple Notes. I don't use any of the other apps, even though they are great, like Evernote and all of that. For the most part, I like to use all of Apple's proprietary apps. Next to Notes, I have my podcast app. I like to use Overcast. I don't really have a specific reason why, but I started using it like a year and a half ago and just started preferring it over Apple Podcast app. So I've just kind of gotten used to using this app and have since deleted the Apple Podcast app. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I sometimes try to listen to more podcasts than I do music, and I do a lot of driving between Central California and Los Angeles for work. So that's like a 3-hour drive each way, and I can listen to like 2 podcasts to get me through it. Moving to the right, I have my social media apps, starting with Instagram. I am guilty of spending a lot of time scrolling through this app. I do a lot on Instagram, messaging people, posting. So this is probably where I spend most of my time. If you were to look at my activity, it's probably going all to Instagram. But I am trying to be more intentional about how much time I spend on there and trying to use more of that time for more productive things. Next up, we have Twitter. Now, I don't really go on here as much as I used to, but I still occasionally like to scroll and kind of keep up with news and things that are going on. But I don't really use Twitter for posting as much as I used to. It was one of the first social media accounts I had besides MySpace. So I've been on it for 11 years now, 12 years now. But now I kind of just use it to check up on news and other things going on. And then of course, YouTube. I spend probably the most time on YouTube. You can tell I'm watching a Nelk video right now. YouTube is self-explanatory. I love that I can watch it on my phone, on an iPad, on a TV. You can watch YouTube wherever, and that's a high up on the list there, so that obviously has to be on the front page for me. And then I have YouTube Studio, where I can check all the analytics from my channel. I can reply to comments and just look at everything on there and kind of see where the channel is growing, what I can do better, what videos are doing well, or where can I improve. So I really love this app. I've been using this app ever since I started posting more and more on YouTube. And then next to that, I have Lightroom. I love that I can, there's a picture of my dog here with a deflated football on her head. But I love that I can edit a photo in Lightroom and kind of have the same tools that I have on a computer on my phone, which is incredible. I can also add all of my presets and everything to that. I use Lightroom for everything, even down to sometimes editing photos that I post to my story. So having it on the home page is necessary because I use it multiple times a day. And finally, the last app is my gym app. GB3 is the gym that I go to. So this is just like a little scanner. It's a really simple app. I'm obviously going to pixelate all of the sensitive info, but this is just how I check in at the gym every day. And then finally, we move to the bottom column. We've got my phone app, Telegram, which I had already talked about, Safari, which I like to use Safari over Google Chrome on like my devices. I don't know why, but I love using Chrome on my computers, but for some reason, I'm just more comfortable using Safari on my devices, my phone and my tablet. I think it's just preference because I'm used to it. Next to that, Spotify. I don't use Apple Music. I'm a Spotify guy. I just love Spotify. It's what I prefer and it's what I've been using for years. If you think that you can convince me to switch from Spotify to Apple Music, hit me up in the comments and I want to see your sales pitch, because if you can get me to switch, that'd be pretty impressive. For my main calendar and actually like keeping up with everything that I have to do throughout the month, just swipe right and I have what I call the widget world. I have my calendar widget. I use Apple's calendar. I just prefer that. I just like the simplicity of Apple's calendar. So I've got my calendar there, my weather widget, and then Spotify below that, which usually recommends different playlists and stuff. Then I have my activities in case I want to keep track of my phone usage, which, don't judge me, it probably looks a little intense right now. So it's kind of nice just to have it there where I can keep tabs on what I'm doing. And if the numbers look a little higher than I'd like them to, then I can get off my phone for a little bit. And then below that, I have my LifeX bulb, which is just a Wi-Fi smart bulb, and I can turn it on and off from there. Now, one thing I do want to bring up about using custom icons is it creates a shortcut in your phone. So every time you open it up, a little drop-down shortcut notification pops up, which is kind of annoying. Like, there's no way around it, at least what I've found. So I'm hoping in the future they can fix that. But that's really a slight inconvenience that I'm kind of getting used to already. And those are all the apps that I have on my main screen. These are all the apps that I feel like are important for me to have readily available. And if I need anything else, I just swipe down and I can search for whatever I need. Now, you'll probably notice that I don't have my camera app on here. And that's because I have the 12 Pro Max that has back tap. So what I did is set up a shortcut where I just double tap the back of the phone and it pulls up the camera, which is pretty useful. It's great in quick situations where you just want to double tap, open it up. And of course, I can open it up from the lock screen. So those are 2 points of access to the camera already. I just didn't feel like I needed an icon living on the home page if I didn't really need it. And that pretty much covers what I have laid out on my iPhone. I love the minimal and simplistic look of these icons. They look great, but it's also not as distracting. You don't have a bunch of push notifications always on your phone, and it's not as enticing because they're just simple icons. Now, one thing I didn't mention, which I know everyone's gonna comment about and ask, is the wallpaper that I'm using. If you've seen any of my other videos or you're familiar with my photos on Instagram, then you know I use this wallpaper for basically everything, and it's become somewhat of a staple. Like, everyone always wants this wallpaper, so I'll be sure to leave a link in the description for this if you want to download it for yourself. But I think I'm going to wrap up the video here. I just wanted to go through and kind of show you how I have my iPhone set up going into 2021. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and you got some sort of value out of it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Hit me up in the comments and say hello, and if you're not already, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to be posting a lot of tech and filmmaking, desk setup style videos pretty frequently in this next year, so I'd love to have you guys a part of it. I'll see you all later.